and she caught a sob. "They say she could go at any moment." Lucy, who had come to work early to write a recap of the latest selectmen's meeting, which had been more contentious than usual and didn't end until close to midnight, came to a decision. She shut down her PC and got to her feet, gathering up her bag and grabbing her jacket from the coat stand. "I guess I'd better get going before I chicken out and hate myself forever," she said. She and Rachel got to the door just as Phyllis, the receptionist, yanked it open and set the little bell on the door to jangling. Words were not needed. The expressions on Rachel's and Lucy's faces told it all. And Phyllis, a dyed-in-the-wool Methodist, raised her eyes heavenward and crossed herself. "Keep praying," urged Rachel. "Amen," added Lucy as they hurried past. Once on the sidewalk, the two women parted. Rachel headed for her husband Bob's law office, just a few doors down, to tell him the awful news, and Lucy got in her SUV for the drive to the hospital. Lucy drove along the main street of the pretty coastal town, too distressed to notice the colorful banners flapping from lamp posts in the cool breeze that blew off the cove, advertising the Chamber of Commerce's upcoming Spring Fling sales promotion. She also failed to see the gorgeous barrels that dotted the sidewalk, crammed with blooming daffodils and sprays of forsythia cultivated by the garden club. She instead was trying to think of what she wanted to say to Miss Tilley. As she struggled to frame her thoughts, she realized she'd never been confronted with a moment like this, and wasn't at all sure what was expected. The truth was that although she'd lost beloved family members before, she'd never had a chance to say goodbye. Her father was the first to go, back when she was a young mother, too occupied with the endless demands of her growing brood to truly comprehend the gravity of the situation when her mother called to report he'd had a heart attack. She remembered asking her mother if she should come to New York, where he was in Montefiore Hospital, and being reassured that everything was going to be just fine. It wasn't fine, however, and her father died that very night, while she was pacing the floor with a crying, feverish toddler with an infected ear. Now that she thought about it, she discovered she really hadn't had time or space to grieve for her father. She was entirely caught up in the struggle to meet the needs of 3 young children, a nursing baby, and a husband struggling to get his restoration contracting business off the ground. She'd been too tired to cry, or, she concluded with a sudden insight, too afraid that if she started, she'd never stop. It was safer to stuff her emotions into some back drawer of her brain. If she acknowledged them, she feared she would be overwhelmed. After losing her husband, her mother had gradually slipped into dementia, becoming a vague, confused shadow of her former self. Lucy hadn't really understood what was happening, thinking her mother's confusion was due to her grief, until she'd gotten a phone call from her mother's doctor. By then, there wasn't much she could do except arrange for her mother to go into a memory care facility. It was only a matter of time until she failed to recognize Lucy, her only child, and eventually slipped into a coma. Lucy had dutifully arranged the funeral, but hadn't recognized the woman in the coffin as her mother. Her mother had slipped away slowly, bit by bit, until she simply wasn't there at all. The most recent family member to get his wings, as the obits often paraphrased the cold, cruel, and inevitable fact of death, was her husband Bill's father. Bill Sr. had also suffered a sudden heart attack, which Bill's mother stubbornly downplayed, denying the seriousness of his condition. He slipped into unconsciousness before Lucy and Bill could reach him in Florida, and learned from the doctor that